In this video, I'm going to explain the skills that I would learn how to do on the guitar in order if I was starting again from the beginning. I'm making this video for just one person, and that's me. When I was struggling to learn the guitar, because it took me over a year to be able to play my first recognizable song. My heart goes out to you if you're like I was, spending time, energy with the guitar, but not really making any meaningful progress. This is not going to be a shopping list of things to learn in order, like bar chords, pentatonic scale, because they're just tools. And we want to actually be able to play recognizable music. So if I was to write an outline about what we need to be able to actually do to play the guitar, this is that outline in order. Now, I know this works because this week my student Steve learned the river.
I come from down in the valley where, mister, when you're young, they bring you up to do like your daddy done.
Phil learned Streets of London.
And lead you through the streets of London and show you something.
And Mick learned Fields of Gold.
In his arms she found as her hair came down among the fields of gold.
So let's get into it. First up, there are levels to guitar playing with different chords, rhythms, technique, knowledge, skills, timing, feel, and musicality required at each level. And in the guitar process, we color code these. So we start with a foundation of white pick level, we go to yellow pick, orange pick, and then green pick and blue pick as well. But regardless of the level that you're learning at, each of the things that we're covering today applies at each and every level, and they evolve as you progress. First up is actually to condition the fretting hand so that we have the suppleness, we have the flexibility, and we have the full range of movement of the fingers, the wrist, etc., available in the hand. Once we do that and we condition the hand, partly kind of in the air with specific exercises, and partly on the neck of the guitar, suppleness, flexibility, and range of motion is what it's all about for adults. And then from there, we want to be able to have and gain alignment with the guitar. And what I mean in a nutshell is that the guitar doesn't feel like something that's alien to you. It begins to feel like it's comfortable and coordinated, and like it's almost an extension of you in terms of what you can play and what you can express. You're not kind of fighting with it. So in terms of alignment, we're really talking about the angle of your wrist. We're talking about the curvature of the fingers. We're talking about placement of the thumb. It's a few different things, not in terms of actual positioning of the fingers, but the positioning, the angle, and the setup of the whole hand itself to make, when we bring the actual fingers in, and the fretting much more comfortable. So it's wrist, it's thumb, it's curvature of the fingers. It's also the amount of strength and pressure that we're really using. And with a conditioned hand and alignment with the guitar, to then step into actually fretting chords becomes much easier. And of course, the conditioning we need and the alignment we need is a little bit different at each level. As we progress, we need the hand to do different things, to fret bar chords, to what we do to fret open chords, of course. And then from there, we really want to get a set of chords we can play cleanly, not sort of an abundance of chords. We want to start with kind of 3 chords and then just expand those out into a core set of 6 chords that we can play cleanly. So we're not touching adjacent strings and blocking them, and we're not holding our fingers down in such a way on the strings that the note's buzzing and it's not going to be clear. If you watch to the end of this video, I'm going to give you the chord sheet of the 6 chords that I recommend you learn first as a beginner to make it easier to get fretting, changing between them fluidly and playing complete songs sooner. Then from here, to link the chords together, we need to get comfortable with changes between the chords. Now, I'm not talking initially about actual speed, but what we want is for the fingers to be able to move to the new places they need to go between the chords in order to change fluidly, and to do it in such a way that we're not moving kind of one finger at a time. We don't have this kind of thing happening. We want the hand and the fingers to operate as a whole, and we train the fingers to move at the same time as each other. That's an important part of the chord change itself. And then from there, of course, to take those chord changes that are fluid with the fingers moving at the same time and to begin to systematically speed them up. So get them nice and smooth, bringing them up to the kind of tempos that we're going to need to be playing songs with them. By the way, if you don't know me yet, I'm Ian O'Brien, your new friend from the Guitar Process, and I'm here to share with you what I've learned through mentoring adults over 50 to confidently play and sing complete and recognizable songs. And then we're going to move over to the other hand. So the next skill we really want to be able to do is hold a plectrum. Now, I really recommend from the beginning that you don't avoid holding the plectrum. It's going to feel a little bit weird at first, but our aim with this, just like the guitar, is for the plectrum to really become something that feels comfortable and fluid in our hands, and that we're just really used to the feel and just holding it and using it. So it doesn't feel like a barrier between us and the actual guitar, so that we want to put it down and just strum with our fingers, which isn't going to really give us the full range of tone, texture and volume that we'll get if we have the option of using the plectrum because we can, or not using the plectrum because we choose to put it down. So we want to be able to do both, but at this stage we want to be comfortable holding the plectrum in a way that gives us a fluid and supple grip so that the plectrum can move about, not kind of locked into some position where it's just going to be fixed and we're going to be stuck in terms of the attack and rigid with the attack on the strings. We want a suppleness with our pick hold. So at this point, we learn to hold the plectrum properly. And then from there, we start moving up the arm. The first thing with the strumming is the actual movement of the wrist itself. Don't worry about the elbow at this stage. Keep it still, but relaxed, and focus entirely on the wrist. At this stage, we want to learn to strum just with the movement of a nice, fluid, supple wrist to get comfortable up and down, get a nice sounding down strum, and again with the up strum as well, so we're not getting snagging, where we get that brittleness. Fluid up and down strums with the wrist, and from there we extend up and we bring the elbow in. So to get comfortable with that, it's pretty useful to not use the wrist for a little bit and just focus on elbow, which is where a lot of the power is going to come from. And then the stage after that, once we can use the wrist by itself without the elbow, and we can use the elbow by itself without the wrist, of course the vast majority of your guitar playing is going to be a balanced combination of both. Think of this as a spectrum. On one side of it, it's only wrist. On the other side, it's only elbow. If it's only wrist, we can be quite quick and flighty with what we're doing. If it's only elbow, we can be pretty powerful with our playing, but most of the time we want to be able to move between and have a balance of fluidity and power. So the mechanics of strumming is really about operating with movement of wrist and elbow in conjunction with each other. If one of those is missing, it's going to be holding us back. So it's pick, it's wrist, it's elbow into what we're strumming, and then we keep extending it out at this point in time into the actual body as we're feeling the movement of the pulse in relation to the strum. Okay, so the whole body starts moving, and then from there we bring in specific rhythms and actually specific strumming patterns. So at first, I recommend that you don't start with anything that's syncopated. If you're not sure what syncopation means, don't worry. To know that a rhythm isn't syncopated means you're going to be strumming a down strum on each of the 4 beats of the bar. If there's 4 beats in the bar, there is in 90% of music. If it's a rhythm where there's only 3 beats in the bar, which would call waltz time or something like that. If there's just 3 beats, we're going to have a down strum on each of those 3 beats. We're going to have other stuff going on as well. We'll have up strums in between them, but as long as where there is a beat of the bar and a feel, a pulse of the music, there's a down strum, then that's going to be an ideal rhythm. So at this point in time, we're going to pick up some different rhythms, some different strumming patterns. And at this point, we'll have both of the hands kind of doing their thing, but entirely separately. So at this point, we're going to bring in the coordination between the 2 hands, get them working together, get them synchronized. It's one of those things where you're doing multiple things at the same time while you're playing the guitar. And we do this, I would recommend doing this in the context of learning to play songs. Is the next stage. So we've got the chords that we can play, we can change between, we've got a set of rhythms. We want to bring those 2 worlds together through the coordination of playing songs. In the guitar process, we use what I call section to song scaffolding in order to do this. We break a song down in pieces. So don't just pull up a chord sheet and try and play a song from the beginning to the end, of course. Chunk it, take one section at a time. First, just take one kind of row of whatever you're looking at and get comfortable with that row, and then get the next row as well. Get comfortable with one section on its own, stop, look at the next section, get comfortable with that section on its own. So maybe it's a verse and then a chorus. And so we're building up the sections stage by stage, and then we begin to put them next to each other. So to the point where we've got the verse connected to the chorus, and then we learn if there's another part of the song, a middle eight or something, or a bridge, we learn that one, and we stick them all together so that we're focused on complete songs. We're getting all the way through the song with the both hands coordinated together. Once we've got one song under our belt and we're playing it all the way through and we're on the guitar, we learn a few, like a handful, 3 to 5. From there, we begin to make the shift from what I call sight-based learning to sense-driven playing. So up until this point, the eyes have been pretty much all the time on your fretting hand, guiding you, having a look at where they are in the chords, looking at where your fingers are going to new chords. And you're holding everything in your working memory all at the same time. And this is where we break apart from that. At this point in time, we want to learn to play without the eyes. Bring the eyes away from the neck of the guitar and get comfortable being able to play not new songs, but the ones you've been learning and the ones you're playing, to be able to play them without looking at your fingers all the time. It's really a shift from the eyes, sight-driven, into the senses. So at this point in time, we begin to feel our way through it, the touch of the fingers to correct course with how we're fretting chords, and also, of course, the sound of them, how they sound to our ears is going to be the feedback that guides us. It's not the eyes anymore. We're handing it over to the ears, the feel of the fingertips, and of course that lining everything up rhythmically with the pulse that we're feeling and moving in time with. And as much as we're taking our eyes away from the fretting hand, the next stage here, we continue on this, but we also take our eyes away from the kind of chord sheet or the resource that we're using, the written page, so that we are not fixed to one specific point. If we are to take our guitar playing into a place where we're singing at the same time, we're going to need to know what's happening in that music. We're going to need to know what chord's coming up next, how the rhythm's going, so that we can be looking at lyrics and focusing on the singing side of it and encode the guitar playing as a physical response. In the guitar process, we do this by what I call recall encoding. It's really important with all of your learning that you don't go down this kind of avenue of assuming if you are to memorize something or remember it, you just have to do it loads and loads of times, repetition. It's really a waste of time. It's really an inefficient way to retain things and remember them. What we want to do instead in various ways is mark what we're doing as important kind of to our brain. So the brain recognizes like, okay, that's important. So I'm going to begin to hang on to that. And if we're just going through something over and over again, your brain's like, okay, I'm coming across this all the time. I don't need to remember it because this guy or girl is just looking at it and reading it or whatever. So it's not important that I retain this because clearly there's a sheet of paper. And then once we're at the point where we're not looking at the specific music all the time on the sheet of paper and we're not looking at our fingers all the time with the changes, we can begin to go through what I call coordination stages, to build the coordination to sing and play at the same time, to line up the syllables with particular strums or the gaps between the strums and build that coordination between what's happening here with this rhythm hand and of course movement of the chords and the syllables of the lyrics of the songs. And at this stage, once we've roughly got the lyrics and coordination, we start to develop, or I recommend that you start to develop, the resonance of your voice and the ability to, hear a note and sing it and map and, reproduce the actual melody. So not the words and the timing kind of information, but the actual pitch information. So you're singing the notes we need to be singing, we're carrying the melody in a tuneful way, we're in tune with the chords on the guitar as we do it. And an important part of this is that we're finding the right key for the song based on the natural range of your voice. So we're making the song suit the best we can of what's comfortable in terms of your singing. You're not forcing yourself to try and sing like a particular person or step into the shoes of some singer. You're actually making the song work for you and you're expressing it in your voice with the way you sound. You're not doing an impression of somebody. So in terms of range, that might mean placing a capo to bring the key up. It might mean that we're singing up the octave or down the octave. In some situations, it might mean that we're slightly down tuning the guitar as well. At this point in time, when you're looking at a lyric sheet, and you've got a rough guide to the chords and stuff like that, you can play and sing the song all the way through. And it sounds pretty good. You got the whole thing, but you're kind of tied to the page. And so the next thing I recommend that you do is you get comfortable being able to play and sing the song without needing that sheet. And so this comes back to encoding, this comes a little bit back to memory, but it's different with lyrics and the words of song to it is with guitar parts. We still use recall encoding here, but we use a few other things. One of the main things we use in the guitar process for this is what I call VSN encoding, which really stands for visual, sensory, and narrative encoding. And it really helps us create a map of the lyrics that's pretty kind of sticky so that it's not something we're going to lose, because we, to reiterate what I said before, we want to try as hard as we can to really throw out this idea that repetition is what we do to memorize things. It's really, really possible and relatively common in our experience that there can be an event that happens just once in our lives, or an experience that happens just once in our lives that is such that it could be for better and unfortunately sometimes for worse, but it is something we will never forget. It really gets encoded with just one single exposure. It's not really about repetition, it's about other factors. So at this point in time, we use VSN encoding to pretty comfortably anchor and recall the words of a song so that you can sing and play the song all the way and be free from kind of looking at this piece of paper all the time. And the reason we do this is not just because it's really enjoyable to not have a sheet of paper. It's great for, working out the grey matter. It's great for your mind. But really, as well, if you want to walk into a bar or you're at a barbecue and somebody passes you a guitar and you don't have your folder of sheets with you, you want to be a person who can just play a song without, needing to get your notes out, a music stand, or look something up on your phone and have the phone there. So on one hand, it means you're going to be able to pick up the guitar and play in environments and situations where you're really connecting with people, but it's also going to enable that connection, because how expressive can you really be behind a piece of paper on a stand? Not fantastic. So if we can get rid of the piece of paper, we can just have the song, the whole thing. All we need to do is somebody says, hey, you can play the guitar, right? Can you show me something? They pass you a guitar and you play and sing them a song. And you don't need to stop flicking through pages or go home and get your stuff. And something really heavily related to this, once you can play and sing a song all the way through, or a small repertoire of songs without needing the sheet, without needing to look at your fingers, of course you can theoretically make eye contact with the people you're trying to communicate the song to. But what typically happens is you're in the place you usually play the guitar, usually practice the guitar, the door's closed, no one can hear you, and you can play. You're absorbed in the moment, it's great, you can sing and play songs, you don't need the sheet of paper. You have a great time, you're doing it for yourself as your own fulfillment. But if somebody does say, can you show me something, or could you play us a song? What usually happens is, even though you could do it by yourself, at this point in time, when somebody's there and you're being observed, someone's watching you and listening and paying attention, you find tension comes in. You'll find a lot of the kind of fight or flight, kind of these evolutionary biological mechanisms, stuff that's there really to protect us, but doesn't really translate too much to the modern world. Certainly, we didn't evolve to be playing and singing songs on the guitar. At this point in time, what we want to do, now you can play and sing songs on the guitar and enjoy them and you like the way they sound, is we want to develop the confidence to be able to do it comfortably and confidently when people are watching. And I don't mean like a gig or on a stage or anything like that. I just mean sharing a song with your family, could be a husband, could be wife, could be grandkids, could be, maybe son-in-law plays the guitar and you want to connect with them and play some songs together, or just connect with an old friend who played the guitar and get together and do that kind of thing, or sing along at Christmas or something like that. Maybe you've got some family members who play instruments and stuff like that. And I'm thinking of things like that. So we want to, at this point, be able to develop the confidence, or we want to develop the confidence to be able to play in those situations without kind of triggering that fight or flight stuff and feeling really uncomfortable about it or embarrassed or anything like that, to be actually able to do it. And the way we do this, I take my students through what I call a campfire confidence codex, and we really focus on that in three different areas. We focus on set, as in your mindset, how you're viewing things and how you're thinking about things. We think of the state that we're in terms of the emotional state in many ways at that point in time. And this is quite connected to this, what we do with being an inevitable guitar player versus kind of hope learning and kind of being fueled by fear, feeling like you probably don't have it in you to ultimately do it, and maybe you're wasting your time and you're being silly thinking you can learn to play, which is not true. But to become an inevitable guitar player, it's a shift of kind of fuel, it's a shift of emotional state that we develop in time. And then the other part of it is the actual setting, it's the environment we're in. So the environments I just mentioned were, of course, the room where you play by yourself and the door's closed and no one can hear you, and you're comfortable and you have your guitar time and you enjoy it and you play great songs that you love and you're absorbed into it. But a very different setting to that would be a summer's day in the garden, and you know, the neighbours, you think maybe the neighbours can hear you or something like that. Or you're, you know, take the caravan out or something like that, and you're on a campsite or something. It's a completely different setting that we need to account for and develop in terms of confidence. And that's what we do with the Campfire Confidence Codex, get comfortable with a range of settings through the mindset and the state that we're in and the adaptation to the setting. And then from there, really, the next thing, once you're comfortable playing a couple of songs in front of, you know, grandkids or friends or something like that, is I recommend at that point in time that we begin to transform songs based on your own individual expression. So I mentioned before, like, not doing an impression of the original singer. Absolutely not. But at this point in time, you'll start being drawn towards different aspects of music and different ways that you feel a song could be. And we try it out in different ways. Like, examples I've seen in terms of technically recently would be, you know, a song like Maggie May, a bit of a rocker, but actually doing it as a fingerstyle song, and it comes out more of a folk one. And I've seen Ramones songs like Blitzkrieg Bop, kind of fast, punky stuff, really taken and slowed down and be turned into more of a ballad, or you know, taking a traditional Irish song, a folk song, and really giving that a sort of injection of attitude and energy. But really taking the song in a way that's that you feel compelled to take it in terms of expressiveness and what it means to you personally. And part of that is to create a dynamic journey through the song so that it has as much emotional impact as we can. So there's periods of the song, sections of the song that come down and have low energy, and then there's kind of climactic or like peak parts of a song as well. And we carve out a journey through it in that kind of way based on how you interpret it yourself. A lot of it comes from, this stuff comes from inside, and then it's guided through in terms of how to do it, and be able to, of course, improvise with the song, mess about with it on the fly and chop and change it about as you go. And then from there, I'd say the last one would really be in terms of really digging into the musicality that has been building through the different things I've mentioned so far, will be to the point where you listen to a song and you like it and you want to play it. Instead of cruising around online and looking for sheets of paper and stuff like that may or may not be accurate, the next stage would be to actually listen to the song, use your ears, and figure out how to play it. And I know for a lot of people that feels like an intimidating kind of level of musicality, and that typically does because the musicality hasn't been developed, because you've been kept on the surface, just going from sheet to sheet, or video lesson to video lesson. But to actually develop the musicality as part of your guitar journey, so that you, by this point in time, you know what to listen for, when, and what to pay attention to, and what to completely ignore to piece together a song, figure it out. And this rapidly speeds up your ability to learn a song. You're completely bypassing the sound and the music and the song being translated into some sort of written form, and then you looking at the written form, interpreting that, then again back into music. We get to the point where we hear it and we figure out what's happening with it based on the sound it is, and we figure out how to play the song. So there we have it. Let me know which one that you found most useful in the comments and what you think. And to receive my chord sheet for that set of beginner chords I recommend learning first, just click the first link in the description below this video. And if you're over 50, you really want to finally make progress with your guitar playing, make the shift from being a hope guitar learner to being an inevitable guitar player, you can find out exactly how I'm teaching my students to play and sing complete, recognizable songs confidently by clicking the same link below. And if this video resonates with you, click like, click subscribe, and you're really gonna love this one.